today's episode of Royal Journeys, where we chat to some of the great players and people who are or who have been members of the Essendon Royals about their journey in football. In our first episode, we chat to a former player still barely halfway through his teenage years, but with an incredible story to tell. Max Caputo is just 16 years old, but has already made his professional debut with A-League champions Melbourne City. A former Royals junior, Caputo's football journey started with the Royals before moving on to Caroline Springs George Cross and eventually the Melbourne City Academy. Today, we're chatting to Max about his journey thus far and his plans for the future. So welcome, Max.
Thank you.
So, Max, I guess we'll start with what I'm assuming has been your proudest moment of your career so far, your professional debut for Melbourne City in a Melbourne derby. Just talk us through what that night was like and when you got the call up to I guess, come onto the pitch.
Well, I knew from the day before, and I slept like not that much that night. I was a bit nervous, and then obviously it was in lockdown, so my dad just drove me and just dropped me off. So it was more like I just walked into like an empty stadium, and we obviously went on the pitch and saw it. I was just crazy how thinking like I could because I didn't know I was coming on, so yeah. I was just nervous, and then obviously once like the 82nd minute they told me I was coming on, I wasn't nervous. I was just thinking, just play, have fun. That was it.
Yeah. So you had no idea. You knew you were in the squad, but you had no idea if you'd actually be called on. So, I mean, who gives you the tap on the shoulder and says warm up? Is that Patrick Isnorbo or one of the assistants?
Patrick Isnorbo told me like in the dressing room before the game, he's like, we're going to try and give you minutes, but we'll see how the game flows. And then in that maybe 75th minute, our assistant coach, Des Buckingham, he tapped me on the shoulder and said, go warm up, we're going to try and bring you on. And then it was just that from there, just warmed up and came on.
Yeah. And what stood out to you from, those minutes you did get? I mean, it must have been fast and furious and different to anything you'd ever played in before in your life. What was the feeling once you're on the pitch and trying to get, on the ball? You had a few touches. What was that like?
I was just trying to, for the first few touches, I was just trying to keep the ball and, like, obviously stick to the tactics and just play my role in the team because I was playing striker. I came in for, I think, Tilio or Rafa, and then I went striker, and then I just played a couple simple passes, and then once I get into the game a bit, well, it was only 10 minutes, but once I get into the game a bit, just try to do my own thing and play part of the team.
Yeah. So you mentioned that obviously, you were told you'd be in the squad the day before. So did Kisnorbo do that, privately, or did he let you know in front of the rest of the squad? How did that happen?
No, it was sort of like, so we finished training on the pre-match, and no one knows who's in the squad until then. So usually the younger players or like the players that don't end on the squad, they play like a mini game at the end. But I was going to walk over there, and then he told me to stay on the other side. So that's when I knew like I was in the squad. So I was really happy about that, like just being in amongst like the boys. Yeah.
So it wasn't so much that he told you, but it was that you didn't have to play in the in the mini game at the end.
It was indirect. It wasn't direct. It was like sort of like hinting me, like yeah.
Yeah. So, I think the last time we spoke, me and you, was just after you'd signed your scholarship contract with Melbourne City, which I think was around April. And then, it was really just a matter of weeks before you were, making your debut. Were you surprised at how quickly that progressed, or was that something that you knew the club was, looking to get you a couple of minutes at some point during the season, when you signed that scholarship contract?
Oh, well, I was actually looking forward to, because all the players were at Olympics, the Socceroos, and there was lots of injuries. So I knew I was amongst like the top 20. I was around there. And then the week before I didn't get picked. And then obviously against Victory, I got picked. So I was just working hard in NPL and training with the NPL boys. And then obviously I was training most of the time with A-League then because we were an online school. So we weren't at school, so I kind of had a good chance of getting selected because I was training most days and like doing good in NPL.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, when Melbourne's in lockdown, obviously the NPL side of things don't get played. So does the NPL training, like squad, stop training during those times, or obviously you would just train with the first team squad, but does the rest of the NPL squad stop training during lockdowns, or how does that work?
Yeah, most of them get most it's all stopped, but like most of the NPL boys, like some of us train up, so like they try to like make sure more people train in the NPL squad with the A League.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously, like give them like a chance to train with the A League. If they didn't get brought up to the A League, then they wouldn't be training at all. They'd just be at home.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, as such a young player, obviously you played a lot of your competitive minutes in the NPL last season. I
Yeah.
believe you were the leading goal scorer. So how do you split your time between the two squads? Do you train with the first team and the NPL team, or do you just train with the first team and play NPL on the weekend, or does it just change week to week?
It changes week to week, but when like we go back to school, like it's set in stone. So I go to school like it doesn't matter what depend because A League always changes what when they're training. So I need to go to school 3 times a week. That's what the minimum. And then
Yeah,
the other 2 days that during the week, so Monday to Friday, I'll train A League. So two days out of the 5. And then whatever if they have like a game on the weekend or training on the weekend, I'll just not necessarily games, but training I'll attend and like because like they just want me all the time. Like they
yeah.
want like yeah.
Yeah. And if we go back a bit, I was reading that, I don't know if this is right, but I was reading you joined the City Academy at 12 years old. Over the last 3 or 4 years within that setup, what's it like being an academy player in the A League? Do you have to train every day? Do you train 3 times a week like other NPL players? How does that work?
We trained. Well, obviously I was 12. I was playing under 15s with until
Yeah.
like obviously A League like last year October. Well, usually we train like 4 nights a week and then a game on the weekend, like a bit more than like one extra night than NPL, and then obviously the training's more intense with better players around you. So you obviously learn off other players. Like I've always been the youngest one, so I tend to learn off like the older players that I train with, like because they've always been 1 year above or 2 years above. I've always just tried to like not do what they do, but like try like get into the squad as being a younger player, which is pretty hard these days, but it's getting better.
Yeah.
That's what I've
Yeah.
been doing my whole life. Just playing a year up, playing 2 years up. Now it's obviously A League. Some players like 10 years older than me, but
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, like, it seems like just from looking at your career to this point, you've pretty much been playing up that whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
Was that part of the plan? Like even from your Royals days or your George Cross days, or was that just part of the plan in terms of preparing to play against older players, or did you just find yourself that coaches would select you for older teams?
Well, I would usually, well, ever since like Essendon Royals, like I always got selected in like, I had like this like the group of 03s, like that, like sort of in Essendon Royals, like I just got put into there when I was like 5, and
Yeah,
everyone was like 8 or 9, whatever. I can't remember, but they were always 2 years older than me.
yeah,
And then the 04s was like a good sort of team. We had a good team, like 11 of us at Essendon Royals. And then we went to George Cross. All like 10 of us got picked into the George Cross under 30 under 12 team, and I was 10 and everyone was 11, turning 12, obviously. So I was like there's like 4 of us young ones, and then the year after we won the league, and I got top goal scorer. And then yeah, I won top goal scorer when I was a year younger, and then from there I've been at City since like I was 12.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, are those memories at Royals? Are they really your earliest football memories? I mean, was that your first real introduction to football as a
Yeah,
team
yeah,
sport?
yeah. Obviously, yeah. I enjoyed Essendon Royals like at Ormond Park, stuff
Yeah,
like always oranges at half time.
yeah. So what was obviously your family's got a bit of a connection with the club. Was that just the obvious place for you to start?
Yeah, it's only 2 minutes from my house, so well, it always has been. It's always been close, like the local club. Everyone, all my mates used to play there. I just played to like enjoy soccer, like, and then obviously got good at it, and then it's taken me here. So
Yeah, yeah. So obviously, like you mentioned, from the Royals, you did move on to Caroline Springs, George Cross, and then City. So how did City's interest become sort of known to you and your family? Was it something you went out and chased, you attended trials, or was it something that they came and said, we'd love you to join the academy teams? How did that work?
Well, I was Victory and City approached me like in the same game. So like we at George Cross we played Avondale, and obviously I got like my dad or one of the guys asked my dad, "Oh, we want you to come trial at City and train. Like I'll give you a call." And then I think Victory, someone messaged my dad saying I'll come trial, and then I was at City and Victory and George Cross like for like I reckon 6 months.
Yeah.
And when I was 11, and I was training like literally like 5 times a week, and then game, and I only have like one day off. So it was like that was probably when I was like improving a lot, especially those years. Like at George Cross, obviously like doing good in the league, and then I was training with Victory and City with like older players as well. So that was good for me.
Yeah. So outside of club training, obviously, you weren't just doing the 2 or 3 nights a week with your whether it was Royals or George Cross or, you're always doing extras. So, what else do you do, especially maybe not so much now, but, back in those younger days, what were you doing outside of training to sort of keep yourself fit and healthy and try and take your game to that next level?
I would always like focus on my like finishing, because like we don't really like go to the park and just have shots with my dad, and maybe in the backyard we always play like games with my brother. He used to be he's at St. Rose now, he's at Victory, but just always like in the backyard playing with my brother, my mates, just fun games like shooting, because like we don't really practice shooting when you're younger. Like not many people practice. Like you're with your team, and so obviously scoring goals like everyone like looks out for, like who's on the score sheet or who assists the goals and stuff like that. So I've always just been really interested in that.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned your brother there, another former Royals player who's at Victory now. So you still got that competitiveness with him in the backyard having a kick, or do you have to keep yourself on ice now for A-League training?
No, always competitive with him. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I mean, what would be your biggest piece of advice for other young players who are hopeful of a career in football and they're maybe in that, 12 to 15 sort of age bracket like you were a couple of years ago? What are the things that they should be doing to, I guess, try and take their own game to the next level?
Just 12 to 14, whatever that age group, just enjoy yourself, just play for fun, and if you want to like work on extras, always make sure to work on extras, because everyone's training like you're with your team. Like don't say 3 nights a week, and then if you're doing extra stuff, you're obviously going to be a little bit a step ahead of everyone. And just always eat healthy, because it helps being fit and stuff.
Yeah, so obviously looking more to the current day, you're back in pre-season with the A-League side at Melbourne City, and you've got a new Socceroo forward to learn from in the shape of Matthew Leckie, which adds to the likes of Jamie McLaren and Andrew Naboo. So how big a deal is it for you and your personal development to test yourself against these guys in training, and how do you try and learn from them?
I'm always like in the attacking group, so I'm always like with them and learning off them, and like the moves they make in training, and like have like their touches, and obviously like when they're in front of goal, like what decisions they make, like, and their creativity. I always like try to like look what they're doing, and then not necessarily copy them, but just like they're obviously the front three of Socceroos, so it's just great being training with them and stuff.
Yeah. Even when you made your debut, I'm pretty sure I remember seeing guys like Jamie McLaren jumping on your Instagram, or so that obviously they're great role models for you. Have they sort of taken you under their wing a bit? Do you, obviously you're all competing for limited places, but do you feel like that they're sort of looking out for you as well and trying to pass on some of those skills to you as well?
Yeah, they do. Jamie McLaren, he drives me home and like talks to me all the time. So yeah, because he lives around here, so it's good having him. They'll just try to like help young players.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, obviously you've had your taste of first team football in the A-League last season. So what sort of goals do you set yourself from here? Obviously, you've achieved that at a very young age. So what's the next sort of goal? How do you keep yourself hungry to achieve more and more?
I just want to get out there and just work hard in training because I'm still young, and yeah, just try and like get a spot in the first team from like here till I'm like 18, and like just make a name for myself, like just trying to contribute to maybe A-League like goals and assists and playing more games, just getting more first team football.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, Max. Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing a bit about your journey and how you've got to this point in your career. Everyone at the Royals really appreciates that, and everyone at the Royals obviously wishes you all the best for the rest of your footballing career.
Yeah, all good. Thank you.